Tonight, with the deposition of former President Trump. Mr. Trump testified under oath in the New York civil investigation into his business dealings. The former president invoked his Fifth Amendment protection against self-incrimination during the deposition. In a statement, he said in part that he's the target of a, quote, unfounded, politically motivated witch hunt. And he took the Fifth for that reason. The New York Attorney General's office released a statement saying they will, quote, pursue the facts and the law wherever they may lead. And we're getting more details about the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago Monday. An attorney for the former president who witnessed the raid said agents searched a bedroom, a storage area, and an office. Sources tell CBS News the FBI took documents in boxes, but did not take electronics. For more on this, Robert Costa joins us now. He's CBS News' chief election and campaign correspondent. Bob, just another one of those unprecedented days in American history. What's your latest reporting on the former president's testimony in New York?
It's good to be with you, Scott. Just got back here to CBS News in New York after spending the afternoon outside the Trump deposition in Lower Manhattan, a highly unusual event in American history to have a former president taking questions from a New York State Attorney General's office about the Trump organization, possible financial problems in that company. The New York State Attorney General's office has alleged that there were improprieties, tax evasion, fraud. You've seen in the Manhattan District Attorney on a separate front an indictment of the former Trump org CFO, Alan Weisselberg, that came last year. And now this is all coming to a head with this deposition today, asking the former president questions, but he declined to answer those questions. Speaking to CBS News legal analyst Ricky Kleiman earlier today, it's evident that this is not a strange course of action for someone in this legal position to invoke the Fifth Amendment and decline to answer. But to have a former president do it just makes it different.
Yeah. So where does the case go from here? This is just one of the cases that has some nexus to the former president. If he's given his deposition, what happens next in New York?
This is a civil case in New York. The New York criminal side has kind of fallen away from Trump in terms of possible legal jeopardy over the past 6 months. And so what you see now in New York is an ongoing Manhattan District Attorney investigation, possible criminal investigation there. And then you see on the state side a civil case. And this could take a variety of different directions because of Trump's decision to invoke the Fifth Amendment, decline to answer questions. But as you said, this all comes amid mounting legal scrutiny of the former president. He's facing it from the city prosecutors, the state prosecutors. He's facing a Fulton County, Georgia grand jury. There's a grand jury in Washington convened on January 6th, which you, Scott, have been covering so expertly. And there's also an investigation of his handling at the federal level of classified documents from the White House that might have ended up at Mar-a-Lago, his Florida residence. And, of course, he's facing an investigation on Capitol Hill, the House Select Committee on the attack at the Capitol.
And let's shift to the Mar-a-Lago one then. We know there is a search warrant signed by a federal judge that, like so many search warrants in the federal system, is sealed. There are calls from Republicans to unseal it for the president, perhaps to show his copy of the search warrant or the receipt. What's your latest reporting on Mar-a-Lago?
It's a story I'm trying to be careful on as a reporter because we have limited visibility into what exactly is going on here. We have reporting. CBS News has done excellent reporting on this so far. But across the media spectrum, we just don't know enough from the federal side yet about what is the intent here of the search. What exactly were they looking to find? We know they were going through boxes. They spent hours there, going into different rooms. But what exactly was the intent of the search? And as you said, the Trump lawyers, of course, have a copy of the warrant from their client. It's given over to the client as the search is done. But we haven't seen the details of that. And until we know the details of the warrant, we don't really have a full understanding of why this happened at this day, at this time.
Well, despite the limited visibility, there's an awful lot of response coming from Mr. Trump's fellow Republicans in the Senate, in the House, his supporters. They're saying a lot despite the limited visibility. What are you hearing from your sources about their response to the raid and to the deposition?
There have been some muted comments from a few Republicans, like Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell, the minority leader, he said he would like to see the FBI director, the Justice Department, come out and clarify their actions here and their decisions. And we're all waiting to see what we will hear more from the DOJ and FBI in the coming days. But even with this limited visibility into the investigation, you are right, Scott. The Republican Party, in many quarters, especially inside the House, has expressed outrage. The president's core supporters expressing their frustration and anger toward what they see as a political and legal establishment aligned against the former president. On Tuesday night, members of the conservative House Republican Study Committee convened at Bedminster, the president's golf club in New Jersey, the former president's club, and they encouraged him to get into the 2024 race now. And so you're seeing the talk about a Trump comeback. It's increasing this week because of the news of the search. This is a party that for months had been thinking about maybe going in the direction of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, should he decide to run in 2024, or Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, or a whole galaxy of other Republicans. But now, with Trump back in the spotlight, back as someone who his voters see as a political target, grievance is once again the fuel inside of the Trump wing of the Republican Party, and it's lifting him as he thinks about getting back in to the presidential race ring.
Yeah, one of those Republican Study Committee members at the dinner on Tuesday night, Lisa McClain of Michigan, who said the conversation was, in her words, very positive, not an airing of grievances, but we'll see where it moves from here. In New York, Robert Costa, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Scott.